Today you're going to be learning how to use the program PC Draft. PC Draft is a CAD program designed especially for the PC computers and for doing 2D, two-dimensional CAD drafting. First, you're going to have to download your files that you're going to need from my website. When you go to the Industrial Tech Modules tab on the website, you'll see there's CAD, Flight, Plastics. You're going to go to the CAD tab. Inside the CAD tab, you will see the directions as you've already found, but you'll also see the files here on the right. Go ahead and download the Activity 1 file. It'll save it right here to the bottom of your screen. I think it's a little bit easier if you just drag it up here to the desktop, and then you have access to it. Go ahead and close this window, and then double click on your Activity 1. It'll bring up a blank template. It is all the tools that we're going to be using today on the screen, and we'll go through these very quickly. First of all, the one that you should know about is Window. Window will show you all the different tool windows that you can have open. Right now the tool window, the attribute window, and the status bar is open. Right over here is the tool window, the attribute window, and the status bar. If you go here to show all of them will open up. And if you click on that again, they'll all disappear. I usually just have all of them open. Let's move a few of them out of the way. And now you can see what we're working on. This first window right here is the tool window, and it's got all the tools that you're going to need. It's got the lines right here, squares, circles, and as you drag your mouse across it, a little window pops up and tells you what the tool actually does. So if I drag my mouse over here, it says use this tool to draw free and constrained lines. Constrained means they have to say a certain direction. If you notice, there's a little tiny arrow next to these guys. A little tiny arrow, a little tiny arrow. Not on all of them. The hand right here doesn't have that little tiny arrow, but a lot of them have that little tiny arrow. If you click and hold that box, it will give you more options. So by clicking and holding the hand, I don't get any more options, but clicking on this line tool, I get more options. And this is what they mean by constrained. I can only draw 90-degree lines with this one. So if I try to draw anything other than a 90-degree line, it doesn't let me. If I want to get rid of that, I can just highlight it. It's already highlighted right now. If it wasn't, I would use the arrow and click on it so it's highlighted, and then hit the delete key on your keyboard. So as you can see right here, this one's just going to be lines. Once again, lines. These are going to be 45-degree lines, and these are going to be 30-degree lines. So I'm going to click on my tool right here. If I click on just the regular tool, I can draw a line any way I want. It is so much easier if I make these 90-degree lines, then it only allows me to draw the 90-degree lines. Another thing that makes this a lot easier is to zoom in on this window. So down here at the bottom, I can click on this guy, and right now I'm zoomed in 2 times. I could zoom in 8 times. I can come back over here, zoom in 1 time, and there is the whole sheet. Or I can use the magnifying glass right here. So by clicking on that magnifying glass, I can say zoom in right here. Notice there's a plus inside my magnifying glass. If I were to hold down the Alt key on the keyboard, it would turn that into a negative. So by leaving the Alt key off, I can just zoom in, zoom in, zoom in, and keep zooming in. If I hold the negative key or the Alt key down, it gives me the negative, and I can zoom out, zoom out, zoom out, zoom out. Or I can use this to draw a box around the window, and it zooms into that box. Now you can see that I'm zoomed in 6.2 times. Let's go ahead and continue drawing all of these lines. Notice on this one, I went a little bit too far. So I could just grab the end of this guy and bring it down, or I could delete it and just draw over again. And there we have it, all the lines drawn on there. Continue doing this on the other boxes on your screen. Once again, we could zoom back out if we want to, or now we could use the hand tool, using this tool to move the position of the drawing about instead of using the scroll bars. Note, you can set this tool by pressing the space bar. So when this arrow tool is selected, if I hit the space bar, the hand gets selected. Now I can just move the screen up. Click on it and move the screen wherever I want. Now I've got 45-degree lines. So I'm going to click on this tool and go to the 45-degree line tool. This is so much easier if you do it while zoomed in. If you try to do this on the screen while you're zoomed way out, like this, it'll be a lot harder to line things up. Make sure everything's lined up as good as you can get it. Now the last one we have are the 30-degree lines. There's 30 degrees. And there we have the 30-degree lines. One more tool you can use is this one-to-one. When you click on this, that just brings you back to the whole screen. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in a little bit on this. These are just squares or rectangles, and these ones are just squares as well. Notice if I click on that square, I can get this square or this square. This one, it starts at one corner and goes to the other corner. This one, when you start drawing it, it draws it out from the center. Use the side that has the corner to corner. And just start at one corner and go to the other. See how easy that was? Notice my square does not have a filling in it. So if I were to click on the edge of it and move it, there's no filling in here. I'm going to delete it and draw another square or rectangle. I can come over here with the attributes and change the color of the inside. Right now there's no color. I can make it solid white, or I can make it a color. It really doesn't matter because you're just going to be coloring this or printing this on a black and white printer, so it doesn't matter what color you choose. This attribute window right here also lets me change the color of the line around the edge of it and the thickness of the line. So I can make it a really thick line if I wanted to. Just leave it at a 1-point line. We're doing the same thing for these squares. And this should literally take you a minute or so. Now, the next thing I want to show you is the circles. And with the circles, there's 3 different ways to draw a circle. You can draw starting from one side of the circle to the other, and that's the diameter of the circle. You can draw by starting in the dead center of the circle and drawing a radius, or you can draw what they call a 3-point circle. Once again, if you click and hold this circle tool, you can see the diameter tool, the radius tool, and the 3-point tool. Let's start with that diameter tool and start on one edge, and see how I'm drawing the diameter? I can go all the way across. The next one I have here, if I click and hold it, is the radius tool, and I can start from the center. And it just draws out from the center using the radius of the circle. The last one is the 3-point circle. And the 3-point circle is kind of cool because you can draw a circle using 3 points. So I can start anywhere I want on the circle. I'm going to start on this square right there, but you don't have to. And I'm going to click once and hold it. So see, I'm holding it. Now I can go to anywhere else on that circle. So there's my first point. There's my second point, and I'm letting go of the mouse. I'm not clicking it. So now my finger is not on the mouse, and it's looking for a third point. There's my first point, there's my second point, and now anywhere I draw my third point, it creates a circle. Point 1, point 2, and point 3. Once again, you can always change the color of these if you want. You can always change the color of the thickness of the outside line, and you could even change the color of that outside line. If I were you, I would just leave it plain and leave it at 1 point, just so it doesn't mess up any other parts of your drawing. This next part is the ellipse, and the ellipse is found under the circle tool. Right there is the ellipse tool, and if I click on this, when you draw an ellipse, you want to draw a box around the ellipse, basically. So you notice how here's the edge of the ellipse, and here's the edge. So I have my crosshairs lined up on this edge, and I click and I pull the mouse and go up to the other corner. So we can continue by drawing those ellipses from the bottom corner to the top corner, or the same thing from the top corner down to the bottom corner. Just make sure you have everything lined up. If you make a mistake, you can always delete it and redo that. Up here we have this tool. This is the polygon tool. It just basically draws a shape with many sides. Notice how this polygon is closed all the way around in a circle. So if I start on one and click and don't let go, now let go of my click, I can click at each point of the polygon and it enclosed that whole polygon. I could add the color, change the line size as before. I'm going to go ahead and do this one as well. I'm going to add some color to this one so you see it's a solid surface. Now this polygon right here has an opening. So notice if I click and hold this, I have the solid polygon, and then I have this freehand polygon. On this one, you want to leave the top of it open, almost like a glass. So if I click and go around this whole polygon, and I'm just clicking at each corner. Now when I get to the end, I click 2 times. If we look really carefully right here, we can see we messed up a little bit. I can zoom way in on it. I'm going to move that little point right there out to the edge, and it fixed it all up for me. Let me use the Alt key and zoom out just a tiny bit so I can see what I'm doing. So now you can see this polygon is not closed on the top. It has to be open. I could still come over here and change the color of that polygon, but notice the top is open. Make sure you do it correctly. This next tool right here are the rounded corner rectangles. So see right here where it says there's a little P? Use this tool to draw rounded rectangles. I can use the P tool, the C tool, or the E tool. Use the P tool, it works the best. Just like you did the ellipse down below, you're going to start up in the corner, not on the edge of the object, but up in the corner like this, and then draw all the way around. Now the nice thing about this tool is that it makes your rectangles with rounded corners, but I can go through and I can change how rounded they are. See how by moving this little point, there isn't one over on this side, there's just one over on this side, and I can move that closer to the corner or farther away from the corner. And if I'm not sure, you can always zoom in so you can see closer your object. And there we have it perfect. Let's do these last two. Zoom in on this side right here, and I'm going to do that same P tool, starting up in the corner. Notice how I'm touching right here and I'm touching over here. click, and drag to the other corner. You can see that this one isn't as rounded. So I would have to change the little edit point there to make it more rounded. Think of this like the center of the circle, because right here's the center of the circle, and the circle goes all the way around it. I can do this one more time for this tool. And now we're too rounded on this one. So remember, this is the center of a circle that would be drawn right there. I'm going to make that circle a little bit smaller. And there's the center of that circle that would be drawn. And this one is correct. One tool that I forgot to show you was this multi-sided polygon. And that's this tool right here. It draws regular polygons, but you can change how many sides it has. If I click and hold it, I just change where the corners line up. So I'll stick with the very first one. And let's zoom in on this guy right here. And I'm going to draw from the side, not the corner, but from the side. And see how the line going straight across? I want that to be perfectly straight. And there I go. Notice it's not lined up. If I use my arrow keys on the keyboard and go up or down or left or right, I can move this around. There's my perfect polygon. I will make that one a different color. Now to do the outside this side had only 6 sides. This polygon had 6 sides. This one has 8 sides. We have to hold the Alt key, the ALT key, on the keyboard. So right now I'm holding it down, and then I click once on this object, and it'll ask me, how many sides do I want? I'm going to tell it I want 8 sides. And now the next time I draw one, it will draw it with 8 sides instead of 6. And I could color this one in a different color. Now, since I drew this one first, or I'm sorry, since I drew this one last, it's on top of the blue guy right here. So maybe I don't want to make that color. And maybe I want this one to be transparent. And have no filling. Okay, the last things we have to do to finish this drawing up. I'd like you to use one of these tools over here. This tool is the freehand tool. And if I click, I have this freehand tool, or for making these strange shapes right here. I just want the freehand tool, and I'm going to try to sign it with my initials. And there are my initials, MB. Not very clean. That's okay. The better way to type would be to use the A tool right here. And notice this says your name already on it. So if I just double click on right next to the name, I can put my name there. And the project, this is activity 1. Go ahead and put in your date. A date far in the future. Go ahead and put in your period. And our project is done. Now, one thing we haven't done yet is saved the project. So I can go to File and Save. And the first time you save it, it asks you where do you want to save it. So I'm going to call this one Activity 1. And my last name, just so I know that it's mine. I'm also going to look to see where I saved it. I can save it right here onto this desktop, Or I can click on the desktop and save it into this drive that says H drive. And it probably has your name under H drive. If you save it in the H drive, it saves it on a server so that it'll always be backed up, and you could actually move to a different computer and still access this file. If you save it on the desktop, it'll only be on this computer. So if you have to move computers, it won't be there. I'm going to save mine to the H drive. There's my H drive. There's the name of the file that I'm saving it to, and I hit save. Now it's got my name on it, and this file is complete. The last thing you have to do is print the file. Before you print it, double check, does this match the picture in the book? And does your partner approve of it? Have your partner check it just to make sure you didn't miss anything or do anything wrong, like leaving this top part closed or not getting the corners right on these objects. So I'm going to print it. I go to File, Print, and then make sure you're going to the printer that says 402_06. 402_06. It's in your book. I'm going to go to that printer. The last thing you always check is to make sure you're printing just one page. I can see this is one page, but if for some reason it's more than one page, I would click right here where it says Pages and make it say page 1 to page 1. Yours is, this one right here is working correctly. Then just put it in your folder and go on to the next activity.